Strecke der Nürburgring Nord-Schleife ein fantastisches Rennen und diese Strecke ist wahrlich herausfordernd. So etwas hat man noch nie gesehen, so eine super bezaubernde Strecke. Großartiger Sieg von Otto Wilf.
1927. Welcome to a dance through the green hell. Here, more than anywhere else, the line between joy and pain was a fine one. In '76, that chapter closed, but the name and the challenge lives on. One man made home his home. Time for another.
Sebastian Vettel, you are the world champion! Yeah!
Those now famous steely eyes. So is it now Sebastian's time? Welcome to Germany. Welcome to Sebastian Vettel's triumphant homecoming. The first time in 6 years that a German world champion has defended his title on home soil, and the perfect way for Sebastian to announce his arrival, well, I guess it would be to pick up his 8th pole position of a so far incredibly dominant season. David Coulthard, Eddie Jordan are alongside me as ever, and guys, this is kind of Silverstone weather from a couple of weeks ago. It could rain at any moment, but that was good fun, wasn't it?
It was great fun, but it's actually colder here than Silverstone, which is definitely going to make it very challenging this afternoon for tyre temperatures.
I think they have a competition between Silverstone and Nürburgring as to see who can come up with the worst weather. I think, well, it's 50-50 at the moment. We'll have to see the end of the weekend, but it's a close call.
Yeah, the weather wasn't great, but beautiful circuit at Silverstone, looking better every single year. And this is a good circuit too, David. You know, it's not a patch on the famous Nord-Schleife, but it's still a pretty testing stretch of tarmac here, isn't it?
Well, we've got two historic Grand Prix back-to-back with Silverstone, obviously, and then here with the Nürburgring. The challenge for the drivers, as you can see, being an older circuit, was this new circuit here was actually built in '84. And if you put one wheel wide, you can find yourself out there on the grass. So we've seen through the practice sessions a number of excursions from the drivers.
And we've got 3 corners here, Eddie, that are below 60 miles an hour, 3 corners over 150 miles an hour. There's no one standout section, but the beauty here is kind of the sum of the parts, isn't it?
It's all about rhythm. The drivers have to get into a real way of putting the lap together. It's very difficult to match up slow speed corners and a mechanical grip and then balance that with the aerodynamic that you're going to need for the fast corners. So rhythm is the key thing, and section 2 is the key to the whole thing. And guess who's quickest there this year? Red Bull.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
I like that last little sign-off there from Michael when we saw him there waving to the crowd as he went through the gravel. So taking time to entertain everybody.
Is he just still incredibly relaxed, or is that a bit strange to see Michael slipping around in practice and still finding time to wave at the guys?
I think it shows he's got spare capacity. You know, he made a mistake like many other people through the practice sessions. Very tricky conditions here. We've had changeable weather, but I think he realises the importance of this Grand Prix for Mercedes. And, you know, he's a German driver, so he's playing to the crowd.
And he's a German driver who's won here on 5 separate occasions, so he knows his way around the track relatively well. It's also, of course, a bigger weekend for Sebastian Vettel, but don't be fooled into thinking that every Bundesflagge that you see fluttering here is in honour of him. With a quarter of the grid made up of Germans, there are 6 very good reasons why the fans are out in force.
Make you glad you came. The sun goes down, the stars come out, and all that counts is here and now. My universe will never be the same. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came.
And the Brits are here as well, keeping their eyes on Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button and Paul di Resta, who actually all were in the top 10 in terms of the fastest lap times in the final part of free practice today, and qualifying coming your way on the hour. But Eddie, it's a bit strange. We've got a German world champion, we've got 6 German drivers, and there's talk about potentially no German Grand Prix next year. What's going on there?
I mean, it's laughable, really. You would have thought that the whole of this place is sell out, by the way. 300,000 people here for today and tomorrow. I just don't understand what's going on. Surely, commercially, viability and viability. The fact Michael Schumacher has turned this around, let's not forget that. This was a country steeped in sports cars. Michael Schumacher turned this into a car steeped in Formula One talent.
Okay, well, let's turn from Michael Schumacher to Sebastian Vettel now. And as far as Seb is concerned, David, he's won a lot of the big ones. We can see if we look at the calendar this year, he's added the Monaco Grand Prix to his list of achievements. The one sort of gaping hole in his CV, a bit like Jenson Button, is winning his home race, isn't it?
Well, and we've touched on this before, just the importance that a driver, the feeling of achievement, doing it in front of your home crowd. He'll have additional family members here. He'll have probably come here as a young boy watching them. Actually, when I say a young boy, he's still a young man, isn't he? So there's no question he'll be focused on trying to make this, if he only achieves one more victory this season, he'd like to do it here.
And have you spoken to him, or is he too busy with various commitments and family members running around everywhere?
No, I've spoken to him. He's got his whole family here, his mum and dad. He's got his little brother who was pulling some tricks on his, what do you call it? It's almost like a skateboard with a handlebar. What's that called?
They're so cool, the Vettels, aren't they? I don't know, a scooter?
Well, yeah, kind of a scooter type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not really in touch with the younger generation.
I think you can tell neither of us are. So let's move on very swiftly. Let's talk about last time out, of course, at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone. We know that Sebastian Vettel's got a healthy championship lead. The question for him is, can he maintain the gap? We certainly know his teammate is quite good at that.
Sebastian Vettel got away better. Vettel leads from Webber.
And there's Hamilton down the inside. McLaren against McLaren, an easy pass here. Michael didn't expect Kobayashi to come back onto the racing line, but there's no question that's a misjudgment from Michael.
Oh, look at that.
It's an unsafe release.
Coming into the final corner, Button manages to get to the apex. Brilliant move yet again from Button. Alonso comes under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton up into third place.
I think we're about to see a pass here from the Ferrari. He's got his cars, he's got his DRS.
Alonso retakes then third place. Red Bull, left rear's not gone on. Alonso's through. Sebastian Vettel's got some serious work to do now. Right front,
yeah, there's no nut.
Right, because they went to change gun, didn't they?
Front left isn't on, guys.
Hamilton goes defensive up the inside and Webber just sails down the outside. Webber into third place. Vettel goes to the inside. Webber has to go the long way round and has to lift off because he runs out of racetrack. But this is a proper scrap for second place in the Grand Prix.
Mark, you need to maintain the gap. Maintain the gap.
Fernando Alonso wins the British Grand Prix.
And Massa's through. Massa's through. Hamilton. And there's contact there. Can Hamilton get back on the inside? Yes, he can.
Hamilton bullies him out of the way.
And it's going to be a run to the line.
Hamilton does it. And a clear fourth place for Lewis Hamilton.
Good old Lewis entertaining the crowds as ever. And as you can see, the crowds are out in force here as well. Ticket sales have been brilliant, but you kind of expect that when you've got a German world champion and 6 German drivers as well. As far as Ferrari are concerned, Eddie, and we're making our way down the pit lane towards them, who needs a whole season when half a season will do? Just like last year, they're going to try and win the title with just half the races left.
Yeah, I fear the same, that was going to happen, and that is a little bit, too late. Great showing. Silverstone, they excited the whole crowd. I think there wasn't very many people there who were disappointed to see Ferrari winning. They are a huge team in themselves. But why can they not get it together earlier? I just don't understand that.
And the other big story from that weekend, I mentioned it beforehand, was Mark Webber being asked to maintain the gap. The fact that he chose not to do that, or tells us he chose not to do that, is that indicative of a mature, confident driver, totally at ease with making the decisions for himself, or is that a slightly dangerous road to start going down for him?
Well, probably a little bit of both,
yeah,
quite frankly. But I think that the respect he has within the team, the position he has within the team, Dietrich Mateschitz, the owner of Red Bull, actually kind of likes that fighting spirit when all's said and done. So I don't think Mark's in any danger of losing his position there. I believe they're actually discussing a contract for next year. It causes difficulties for Christian Horner, the team principal, because his goal is to have Red Bull win drivers and constructors championships, and ultimately to him it doesn't matter which one does, but for the two drivers they're going to fight it out right to the end.
Of course, and it's just worth stopping here and reminding you about the pecking order in Formula One, because we've walked down to Ferrari, and although they're not a German team with no German drivers, it's packed out with people down here, because that's often where the focus is over a race weekend. But look at that, no Ferrari driver at the very front of the Drivers' Championship. The closest they've got there is Fernando Alonso, who's now third after that victory last time out. Sebastian Vettel with an 80-point lead over his teammate. And as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned, well, that's very much Red Bull at the moment, McLaren sitting second, and Ferrari a relatively distant third at the moment. And I've heard a rumour that the Red Bull staff get their bonus based on the Constructors' Championship, so they'll be happy to see the points on the board right there. OK, plenty to discuss, plenty to see, including David getting a lift around the Nord-Schleife from Nico Rosberg. I bet he can't wait to relive that. But first, here's Lee McKenzie with the latest news.
Silverstone gave Ferrari plenty to smile about, but for many others it created more questions than answers. Mark Webber was particularly keen to ask his Red Bull bosses some questions after he was told not to fight Sebastian Vettel for second place.
Mark, you need to maintain the gap. Maintain the gap.
We've spoken. Obviously both sides have been put forward in the unlikely event that it happened again, in terms of that point of the race coming right to the end. Obviously normally things have settled down by then, but in the particular case of Silverstone it hadn't done.
Have you asked if the positions were reversed that you'd be treated the same as Sebastian was?
Yes, they've assured me that that would be the case, yes.
Other drivers who were asking questions of their team were Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton. McLaren's strategy was called into question after Lewis was told to save fuel from early on in the race, and Jenson only had 3 wheels on his wagon after a flawed pit stop. Lewis doesn't seem too convinced that he'll be challenging at the front this weekend either.
We definitely can't challenge Paul. But then, having said that, we don't know what fuel load everyone is on, and so we might be pleasantly surprised tomorrow to find that we're heavier than others. So that again brings us closer. But historically, that's not the case, and so but we'll wait and see tomorrow.
Sebastian Vettel may have ticked most of the boxes in his short career, but one thing he's yet to achieve is to win his home Grand Prix. He's hoping to tick that one off the list this weekend.
It would be fantastic, and it's the one missing, but I think if you push too hard, then you won't succeed. So I take this weekend as every other one, and hope for the support to go maybe a tenth or two quicker here and there.
There's been a change of driver at Lotus, with Karun Chandhok taking veteran Jarno Trulli's seat for this weekend. Lotus are giving the Indian driver a chance to show his class, but with only one weekend to do so, the pressure is on.
This weekend is about building a foundation of the future. Unfortunately, with the testing rules, you can't go off to Jerez and do 3 days like the old days, so we have to do it here in front of 300,000 people this weekend. But it's been okay. I found a second and a half from this morning to this afternoon, and I flat spotted a lot of tyres today, but I'm getting there.
Vitaly Petrov was the star attraction as Formula One took to the streets of Russia last weekend. Jenson Button, Timo Glock and Karun Chandhok drove in Moscow and Sochi to give Russia a flavour of what F1 is all about.
Well, some people cannot get opportunity to come to race weekend in Formula One, so I think this was one small step to bring Formula One in Russia, and it was, I think, around 60,000 people.
So Formula One heading to new frontiers once again, and do forgive us if we look at the wrong camera. There are quite a lot of them around, as you can see. It's a popular place for the fans, and a popular place as ever for David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan to be. David, interesting quote there from Lewis Hamilton before the weekend had even started, to write off any chance of getting pole position. It's not what we want to hear, it's not what the fans want to hear.
Well, it's not, but he's got to be realistic. He can't just give us a line saying, yeah, I'm going to be on pole. Of course, he wants to be there, and who knows what's going to happen with the weather conditions. Maybe he will end up on pole. But on normal conditions right now, the McLaren is not capable of getting the pole position lap, and all things being equal. OK, well, it's not just action on the track that we're talking about this weekend. There's been plenty of stories written in the newspapers about the situation concerning Bernie Ecclestone when Formula One was sold a few years ago. The question marks surround Bernie over possibly making a payment to someone. I spoke to him just before we came on air to get his thoughts on the situation.
So Bernie, if you would you mind just giving us a short update on what's happening with the court case in Germany at the moment?
Nothing. It's same as it's always been. There's no change.
And what is the situation with the case itself?
I've no idea. I mean, we've got is what the press put out. Nothing more.
So the news that people have received is that a payment was made by yourself to someone, and I believe that the news is now that you've said that that payment was indeed made.
Well, what I've said was I never made any payment concerning the shares of the company that was sold to CVC.
So was the money was paid?
Well, what you've just said, I've said that.
Okay. How do you feel about those kinds of stories being linked alongside the Formula One name? Is it an issue for you?
Well, we can't help it. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. And I think when the facts come out, people will be a little bit more surprised. At the moment, I can't say any more than that about that.
So what do you expect to happen from here on in? How will this play out, do you think?
What will happen with what?
With the case from here on in?
I don't know. We have to wait and see. No idea.
And for you personally, is it difficult to concentrate on the job that you have to do with all of this swimming around?
No, because I've ignored all this, apart from one or two press and people asking questions, because it's news, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of things about that bank that a lot of people have forgot to mention names. I suppose my name catches people's eye because of Formula One.
So is it a genuine concern for you?
No, not at all. No.
Great.
People are a bit disappointed. They thought I was going to be arrested or something here, so I'm sorry to disappoint people.
Well, he's smiling at the moment, so we'll wait and see how that one plays out. But Bernie, as ever, not particularly keen to discuss that particular topic. So let's move on to something that we can all get our teeth into, certainly something that drivers enjoy working out: tyres. They've changed massively over the years. However, one thing remains the same. Just as David could tell you, they're the only four things connecting your multi-million-pound race car to the track.
All the top drivers are here at Nürburgring. Rain just before the race causes last-minute changes of tyres. One of the important features on this, the most demanding of all the Grand Prix circuits.
The tyre. When all is stripped away, it's simply four patches connecting the driver to the road. A chemical art in which he places his trust and confidence. It's a relationship. Respect and nurture rewarded, the harsh and careless punished. It's a living being, evolving and adapting. As the track shapes the tyres through the race, so the road of Formula One's history has shaped them through the decades.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of will and taste.
The tall and skinny tyres of the early years danced with their drivers.
Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name.
Balancing heavy cars at massive speeds. In Formula One's eternal quest for speed, the tyres bloated and spread. The tread disappeared. And throughout the tyre war seasons, manufacturers pushed the limits ever further.
Hardly believable. Villeneuve with a ribbon of rubber.
A relentless race to connect the driver ever better to his road. Fat slicks clung to the track as engine power grew, and groaned as aerodynamics forced them ever harder into the surface. Such was the grip that for 11 years the regulations cut grooves into the tyres, reining in the speed. But the drivers mourned the loss of their trusted friends, and finally, in 2009, the much-loved slicks of the golden age returned. Now, in 2011, everything and nothing has changed. Still four tyres, the driver and the road, but Pirelli have changed the game. The age-old art of choosing the right tyre at the right time has never been more vital. The rewards and failures never greater. This latest evolution has given us some of the most exciting racing Formula One has ever seen.
Fantastic.
Tremendous driving all round.
That is brilliant.
Whoa!
Thank you, Pirelli.
Some beautiful shots there and plenty more to come in that series, including wet weather tyres, how a driver looks after their tyres, and Martin Brundle performing a pit stop. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But we're here outside Williams, who picked up their last pole position in Formula One right here in 2005. And we've been privileged to be given a set of Rubens Barrichello's race tyres for tomorrow. So as we came over, Sophie, the press officer, said, whatever you do, look after them. So they're a bit worried about letting us have these. But it's good to get up close and personal, David. It was something that we've spoken a lot about over the course of this year. What do you think of the tyres that Pirelli have brought to Formula One that are slightly more marginal, force drivers into more pit stops and create more exciting racing? Have you enjoyed it?
Well, I have personally. I know that some people may take a different view, and for the drivers it's actually a little bit frustrating when you have a lot of tyre degradation. You want a tyre which is super quick, super grippy, and you want it to do that lap after lap. But in terms of the spectacle, we've seen more strategy being played from not only the pit wall, but the drivers having to make that decision, having to control the point at which they fall off the cliff in performance. So overall, as I said in the piece, I think we've got to say thank you to Pirelli for giving us that opportunity.
I couldn't endorse it more. These people, Pirelli, were given a mandate to come up with a certain structure that would put excitement and fascination back into our racing and overtaking. They have delivered on every count. They've been supreme. Fabulous.
OK, we'll wait and see how it plays out with tyres this weekend, because, of course, someone like Sergio Perez has made a real art form out of just making one stop during a race and almost picking up points in the first race of the year. And Rubens Barrichello, we're waiting for now what happens with him here this weekend. Of course, he picked up a win here back in 2002. Now, this is the Nürburgring. The name has been around for a long time, since 1927, in fact, when they used to race on the previous iteration known as the Nord-Schleife. Just a few feet away from here, but as David, I'm sure, can testify, on a totally different planet.
There's something you don't see every day. Two racing drivers in one car together. Michael Schumacher apparently giving Nico Rosberg a driving lesson. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? How was the warm-up lap?
Crazy. But he was going very, very slow, so now I'm going to show you how it's done properly.
Right, okay, so I'm not allowed to drive?
No, I'll handle that, don't worry.
I'm a little bit scared. Not a good passenger. Some would say not a good driver, but I'm definitely not a good passenger.
You know, I'm feeling good. The fact that I'm going with Mercedes-Benz as team leader, that gives me a lot of confidence.
You're welcome to repeat that a couple of times.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I'll just take a few chances, you know? Because I don't really know. I'm completely clueless. I don't know where it goes. I don't know anything.
Now it gets serious. Send my regards to my mother.
It seems okay so far. I cannot see a thing. It's an exciting weekend for me to be home Grand Prix, you know, in front of all the fans and everything. And this is, well, it's a unique way to start the weekend. It's quite amazing that they still do actually race on this track nowadays. And especially when you think that there was no alcohol barriers like 20 years back or something, you know? That's pretty amazing. There we go, that's a, oh Jesus, yeah. We're going to lift off the track, we're going to fly for 20 meters. I'm going to go absolutely flat out over the bump. And now we're going down the back straight here, which is a massively long straight where you reach top speed at 300 probably, 260, 270, 280. I think it's time to brake because I don't know what's coming up in front. Oh, it's just a quick corner. No.
No more. No more. I'm not doing any more of that. My stomach's not built for it.
That was a bit of a scare for me too, actually, not only you.
All I could see was Armco. You had it under control.
Didn't quite manage to lift off though, not quite enough speed.
I don't want this to seem a bit strange, but can I borrow your hand a moment? Put it there. What do you reckon?
That's 200.
Yeah, that last time that was at 200 was when I used to train. That's fear.
No, it's just a bit of fun, really. But it's great because you hear so much about this track and I'd never been around it, you know? So to be around it myself on such a day today where half of the track was wet, half of the track was dry, and it's so many bumps where you just can't see what comes afterwards.
Apparently you're having to go that way, or is that for me to go to the doctor? No. Oh, Nico, you've got to go to the doctor.
I've got to go to the doctor.
All the best for the weekend.
Right, yeah,
go get some points.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I think maybe you needed the doctor for agreeing to get in that car, didn't you?
Yeah, I think racing drivers or ex-racing drivers are never particularly good passengers, and you trust these guys, obviously not wanting to go beyond the limit, but it is the Nord-Schleife, and accidents can happen, but thankfully he got me back to the finish line in one piece.
An amazing track, and who needs the gym when you can get your heart rate up to 200 beats per minute when you're driving around in a car? Now, we've seen this weekend both Nico and Michael driving in classic Mercedes cars. There you can see two silver arrows making their way around the track. And it's a big weekend for this team, not just for Mercedes describing themselves as the national team of Germany, but also for Nico and Michael, both 5 points finishes each this year. They've got pretty similar records. One will want to assert himself over the other very much so this weekend, won't he?
Well, that's the great thing. The two of them are actually, one thing's quicker than the other, and the other thinks he's quicker than the other. No one, there's actually no decide. By the end of the season, we'll find out who has the most points and who is the quickest. Nevertheless, I think there is a little bit of a shadow about it, because they both would like to have a more competitive car. They'd like to have better situation. They'd like to take the fight to Red Bull. It's not easy for them to see another German driver, their colleague, winning a world championship and leading this championship.
Exactly, that's it, isn't it? Trying to do the business in front of the home crowd, and when Sebastian Vettel is driving like he is, it's very difficult for every other German driver. What they'd really like here, of course, would be an all-German podium, a 1-2-3 finish, which is exactly what we had with British drivers just 2 weeks ago at Silverstone. You're wondering what I'm talking about, aren't you? Well, before the Formula One got going, it was, of course, the GP3 race. And in that race, Lewis Williamson, congratulations to him. He is the current BRDC Young Driver of the Year. He picked up a win at home, and actually the grandstands were pretty full at that point, so a great moment for him. And that meant that along with Dean Smith and Alexander Sims, it was a 1-2-3 for British drivers at the British Grand Prix. You can see them here being given their trophies. So GP3 is just 2 rungs on the ladder below Formula One. Will we be seeing one of these faces in Formula One in the not too distant future? Let's find out from Lee. Lee.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jake. Well, I'm here in the GP3 paddock, and this is where GP3 and GP2 are based, the support races to Formula One. And this is where you'll find the Formula One stars of the future. I think it's fair to say it's slightly less glamorous than F1. There's no luxury of having a garage over in the pit lane. They use these awnings, and the quad bikes have to bring all the equipment you can see behind me over from here into the Formula One pit lane. But the effort is worth it, because if you get the success, then, well, who knows what will happen. And talking of success, alongside me, 3 guys who got that at Silverstone last time out: Lewis Williamson, Alexander Sims and Dean Smith. Well, Lewis, you actually won that race on the Sunday morning in front of a full race crowd at Silverstone. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, going in Sunday morning was quite special with the amount of people that was there, especially with my family and everything. And I think there was a few cheers when I went for the lead at the BRDC. I'm surprised they aren't banned, but now hopefully we'll get back there. But it was amazing experience, the whole atmosphere, and even after our race, the amount of people that were there continuously coming in the gate for the F1 was pretty amazing. So.
Alexander, you were third in that race, but you're actually leading the championship. It's a big field out there, and it's a competitive one. 30 cars in GP3.
Yeah, it's got a massive amount of competition in terms of the drivers. There's lots of experienced guys, lots of young guys coming through. It's very, very tough.
And Dean, you were second at Silverstone. What do you think that does for not just your career, but all of your careers? It's a great showcase, and it's a great place to have this success.
For sure. We've all raced in different championships, but now we're in GP3. All the best drivers are racing on Formula One weekend. So when you get a win, for sure, or even on a podium, it's crucial for yourself and the championship and for the team. Really, you just got to be consistent. It's very hard to be consistent in this championship. So every point counts.
Well, you say for sure, so that means you're almost a Formula One driver, because that's exactly what they all say. We saw a lot of work going on in your car this morning. I suppose you've just got to use the highs and the lows as experience for the further you go up, including F1. We saw it with Lewis. His car was getting worked on right to the last minute in China.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you're struggling, like we've been struggling under these cold conditions, so we're just trying to get the car right. And whenever the car doesn't feel right for yourself, you just feel that you're missing those few couple of tenths that you need to get pole.
Alexander, I know your qualifying didn't go quite as how you'd wanted this morning, but I suppose just constantly finishing in the points is what you need to do to maintain that lead at the top.
Yeah, to a certain extent, but we're out there to win. There's no point going out there to try and get in the points in qualifying, because there's only 1 points paying position, that's pole. So yeah, it's disappointing with 7th. It's not a disaster, but we've had too many qualifyings like that, if I'm honest. I mean, yeah, I just desperately want a pole so that you make the race a lot easier.
And Lewis, you're alongside him, so what can you do from 8th?
Yeah, I mean, if we hold 8th, that means we'll be on pole for tomorrow. There's there's massive amount of opportunities sitting there. The main thing for me is to grab every opportunity that comes along, and I feel like we've been doing that the best we can, and I'm improving every time. And it's it's a great opportunity to come to this circuit and race. So I'm just very grateful. So.
You guys are all racing after the Formula 1 qualifying and again tomorrow. Formula 1, we can see it behind us. It's about a minute's walk from here, but the reality is you're on an awful lot longer journey from here. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck this weekend and throughout the rest of the season. Jake, back to you.
Thanks very much, Lee. We'll follow their progress with interest as we make our way out into the paddock. Believe it or not, with blue sky and sunshine, the weather around here really is incredible. And just to make you feel extra young, Eddie, the combined age of those 3 drivers, 67.
I've still got a little bit in the store on that.
A little bit.
Thanks for reminding me.
We've got a little bit in the bank on them. And talking about things in the bank, David, is it fair to say that these days the breakthrough to Formula 1 is much more money dependent than it was in the 90s when you were looking to do the same thing?
Well, arguably so, because the cost of actually going in all these junior formulas is so much higher. It's about probably €500,000 for GP3, it'll be €1.5 million for GP2, and then that doesn't guarantee you a seat in Formula 1. But great news that Britain has got some stonking talent coming up through, and it looked fantastic, didn't it? 3 Union Jacks.
Oh, it was great. It was really good, wasn't it? And if things go very, 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 very well for those boys, perhaps one day they'll end up in Formula 1, who knows, maybe with a World Championship under their belt in driving for one of the biggest teams. But even when you get all those things and you end up at McLaren, it's not necessarily plain sailing. Just what is going on at the team that haven't won a Constructors' title since 1998? Eddie's been taking a closer look.
This is how we remember McLaren, a team at the front of Formula 1 innovation and design, dominating the sport, winning an extraordinary 1 in 4 races. Nevertheless, it's a long 13 years since they last won the Constructors' Championship. This is a team I so admired and envied. What's happened? Are they trying to be too clever? In pre-season testing, they were hopelessly uncompetitive, mainly due to their exhaust. Their decision to scrap it and follow the Red Bull system just before the first race was successful. Lewis finished second. It begs the question, would they have been a greater force with better testing? This is the 3rd successive season this team has had to play catch-up. And when you play catch-up, you take more risks. Some of their strategy calls have been hard to fathom. Jensen's late pit stop in Turkey.
Were you on the wrong strategy today?
Yes.
Underfueling Lewis at Silverstone again was an unnecessary high-risk move, with little or no upside. Lewis, having made a great start, then heard the very words no racer wants to hear.
Okay, Lewis. Current level of fuel saving, unfortunately, is not enough. We're going to need to do some more to get to the end of the race.
Having run 2 sets of options at Monaco, Button was forced to make a 3rd stop, costing him the lead and track position on a circuit where overtaking is almost impossible. On the other hand, race winner Vettel pitted just once. Yet another foolhardy decision saw Lewis sent out late for qualifying in Monaco. Perez's crash and a non-competitive time from Lewis left him a lonely 9th on the grid. Hamilton felt sure he could have won there, and his frustration clearly showed.
Why do you think you're so magnetic to the stewards?
Maybe it's because I'm black. That's what Ali G says.
Lewis showed more signs of frustration last week, blaming excessive sponsorship commitments on the run-up to Silverstone.
What is he doing?
Make no mistake, his now infamous chat with Red Bull's Christian Horner in full view of the paddock was a clear message to the team. Perfection and McLaren were synonymous. but that was in the past. These heights are clearly no longer being reached. Poor strategy and shortfall on the design clearly put untold pressure for their home Grand Prix in front of legions of fans. Are the wheels finally coming off Formula One's finest? Martin, you've won 2 races this year. Is it fair to say the wheels are falling off at McLaren?
Well, I think we've won 2 races. They were great races. We're second in the World Championship. We're 50 points behind, or we're 50 points ahead of Ferrari. We were second last year. Now, we're not here to come second. We're here to win. So by our high standards, it's not good enough. But at the same time, we're second in the World Championship. We've had some great wins. So I think it's a bit early to be saying the wheels are coming off. I think we can do a better job, and that's what we're going to concentrate on doing. I think we are committed to making sure that we win races this year. We want to win championships. We are making it tough for ourselves at the moment. Mathematically, it's still possible. We're going to keep pushing.
You're spreading yourself very thin. By that I mean you're technically supporting 2 other teams in the paddock, and you've got a very extensive road car program. Is that having an effect on you now?
No, I think it's easy to sort of pass the excuse that we're spread too thin or we're doing these other things. The fact is we've got a Formula One team. All the people within Formula One team are focused on trying to win. And we're at the pinnacle of motorsport. It's difficult to win, we've proven that. But we have great wins, we've got some great drivers, and we're focused here at trying to go forward. And it's tough, at the moment, as you can see, there's a lot of good funded teams here. They're all trying to win as well. So, we're second. I don't think that's quite a crisis. It's disappointing because we want to win, but being second is a lot better than a lot of the teams here.
When will you take up the option on Jensen?
Well, again, we're not going to discuss the driver contract.
Why not?
I think we've got 2 great racing drivers. There's a lot of speculation about what's going on with our racing drivers, but in fact, I expect them to be in this team next year. I think if you ask them, I think they've more or less confirmed that anyway this weekend. They are committed members of this team. There are cycles of performance we don't like if we're not winning, but the fact is at the moment, we've got to work hard and we'll make sure we get back up to the front, which is what we intend to do.
That's a yes, then. I take it you are about to take up the option on Jensen.
No, that was a refusing to answer the question.
Turning to Lewis, if I may, how embarrassing was it in front of the full paddock, him wandering off to see Christian Horner at Red Bull?
Not embarrassing at all. The fact is, what the paddock is like. I mean, I've gone in and out of Red Bull, Ferrari, drivers do from time to time as well. And we have drivers come and visit us. The fact is, when we're on tour, despite all the illusions to the outside, we know each other, we talk to each other. So, the fact is, Lewis wants to win. We want to win. We've seen his frustration. He has to somehow control that a little bit, but we don't want to change him. He's a passionate racing driver. He's always going to push to win, and we wouldn't want him to be any other way.
Martin, as always, great pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Jay.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Eddie, as well. Sounds like Jensen Button's going to stay at McLaren then, doesn't it? But let's just talk about how a team goes about sorting out problems like this. You raced 9 years for that team. How hard is it to work out when you employ hundreds of people working on 2 cars, travelling to races all the time, to work out where the issues are and how you can resolve them?
Well, the reality is you never know exactly what downforce levels your competition are developing, but if you have a car out there going more faster than your car, you've got to presume it's got either more downforce or more horsepower. With this 18,000 RPM cap on the engines, you know that there's a very small spread between the engines, so it has to be aero that is the dominant factor, and that comes down to simulation. It comes down to the wind tunnel development, and it's not down to one person. There are literally hundreds of people that are involved in all that research and development.
OK, it's also down to a few pounds and pence, and they're not short of those, so we'll wait and see just what they can do with the car for the rest of this year. But thank you very much. You're now going to head off to the commentary box, and whilst David does that and settles himself down, Daniel Ricciardo in the HRT car will be settling himself into the car for his 2nd race weekend in Formula One. And 17 years after David Coulthard was a rookie in the sport, he's been catching up with a man who's got high hopes of a successful F1 career.
So, Daniel, thank you for giving us some of your time. You must be quite a stressful period for you. This is going to be your 2nd Grand Prix in Formula One. So presumably there's so much for you to take in when you're working with a new team.
There is. I think, I imagine it'll get slightly easier now or less chaotic after, got Silverstone over with the first weekend, and that was 5 days of, yeah, quite eventful things on and off the circuit.
Have you been on a simulator? Have you been doing something specifically to get your eye in for this weekend?
I've had you know, quite a busy schedule the last few weeks, so haven't managed to get on the simulator, but we race.
How can you say you've got a busy schedule? You're a Grand Prix driver. Surely nothing's more important than learning the next track. What have you been doing? Have you been having your hair done, or what's the story? No, well, clearly not. Well, unfortunately, Daniel, we've been red carded here. We're not able to go out on the track, which is what we'd normally do, and we were going to go and talk about the challenges of this circuit. The good news is that you raced here a month ago in Formula Renault 3.5. So maybe you just talk us around the lap and pick out some key points.
I always found turn 2 quite difficult. It seems you try and come out of turn 1 and bring it back as far right as you can to open up turn 2. But the problem is, I think if you go too far right, then the camber really drops away, and so you sort of got to find a good balance as you turn in point.
What about when you get further round the lap in turn 5 and 6?
I like to get carried away into the high speed, and I'd always carry a bit too much into turn 5 and then not really prepare turn 6. I think you'll see a few different lines there on entry where guys will try and make the time in the first part of the corner and sacrifice it in the second, and vice versa.
And then when we get round towards the end of the lap, you've got what is a fairly straightforward chicane, but there's a huge amount of time to be gained on the brakes there.
Yeah, I think so. The tightest chicane on the circuit, I think you're braking, I mean, you're coming from a high speed, but you're braking on quite a big uphill. And again, you can always brake a bit later than you think. Normally you'd sort of brake, let's say around the 100, but because you're on quite a big uphill, you can always take it a bit further. So that's nice, trying to test yourself there and try and brake as late as you can. And then, yeah, simply with the chicane, you try and get the exit before the last corner, which is good fun.
I was calling you Ricciardo for the few years that you were testing with Red Bull. I didn't know you didn't say the I.
I guess in Italy you'd say Ricciardo, but it's quite hard for an Australian or English or non-Italian person to say it like that. So I'm happy with Ricciardo, but you know, the Italians can say Ricciardo, whatever.
Tell us one other little tidbit for the BBC viewers that we don't know about you.
Hobbies, I love outdoor sports, love getting out there, not really one to sit behind a computer or play video games. And I love punk rock music, I love the heavy stuff.
See, there is a bit of TV gold. He loves punk rock.
And I want Spa to change their dates for the calendar, because it's on the same weekend as Reading Festival, and it hurts that I can't go there. So yeah, that's a request.
Well, that's a pretty cool piece of information. We wish you luck. I'm going to tell Eddie Jordan about the fact that you're heavily into music, and he'll probably come and annoy you at some point just before you're driving the car, because he's, of course, on another planet.
That's cool. Most of those guys are.
Well, good luck.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, if both Eddie and Daniel are missing from the Belgian Grand Prix, I think we'll know where they are. Now, it's a big day for this man as well. This is Karun Chandok. He raced for Hispania last season, and he's been asked to replace Jarno Trulli in the Team Lotus car for this weekend only. Unfortunately for him, at the very end of free practice, he ended up slipping off the track, so not great for his confidence. But how will he get on in the first part of qualifying? It's time to lose the 7 slowest cars in the company of David Coulthard and Martin Brundle. It's qualifying for the German Grand Prix.